Hi everybody, today we are here to discuss one of the most important topics of the verbal ability session, right? Before we come to that, I hope you're all aware of the importance of the verbal ability section. It's a make or a break section in your IPMAT and or examination as well as other examinations. So the reason I'm stressing this in each of my lectures is to ensure that you guys are giving the utmost importance to this particular section, okay? You should not just be targeting the qualifying score or the cutoff score for this section. You must try to score the most out of this section. Alright? So if you make this section your friend, then this section is going to give you the most needed returns that that can get you a seat in your favorite desired college. So without further ado, what are Parajumbles and why are they so important? Okay? So first of all, for those of you who are not at all exposed to the verbal ability scene, Parajumbles is a type of a question where you get jumbled sentences, like sentences which are not in correct order. You need to make a paragraph out of that. I'm pretty sorry, I think I wrote jumbled paragraphs, I meant jumbled sentences. Okay? Now, what are you supposed to do in these questions? You're supposed to do three things, right? You should untie the knots between the sentences. What do I mean by untying the knots? Basically, when you're given a set of sentences, first you're required to find out the context of the set of sentences. Then you need to figure out what the proper order of these sentences would be. Okay? So deciphering that part is what I refer to as untying the knots. Then what you do, then you rearrange the sentences to fit that particular conception of yours. Okay? Then the third and most important thing is once you're done with the arrangement, you make sure that the order makes sense once again. So this is what you do in a parajumble question, right? Now I'll give you an example of a parajumble question. This was a PYQ. This was an IPMAT indoor PYQ. You can go through the questions, pretty straightforward. You're given 4 completely different sentences. Different, but not unrelated. These sentences are definitely related to each other. And what you're supposed to do is you are supposed to decode the relation between these sentences and make sure that they form a particular correct paragraph, right? That's what we are going to achieve at the end of this session today. Now, let's first understand what type of questions are asked, right? So typically the questions which are asked in this section contain about 4 to 5 sentences, right? And all the sentences are coded with a letter from the English alphabet. For example, just like you saw A, B, C, and D, you are expected to correctly sequence the given sentences and make them in a proper, readable, and decipherable order, right? Now, types of questions. Just sentences given in random order. As you saw here, there will be 4 to 5 sentences that are given in a completely random order. You're supposed to arrange them. These are the toughest of the lot. Why? Because you're not given a starting or an ending point. Okay? This is the toughest. Now, the second type of questions are where you're given an opening sentence followed by these set of random sentences. So here you have a starting point to begin with. So you know what the context is, right? This could be easier for you. Similarly, there will be a random set of sentences followed by a closing sentence. There you know how this paragraph is ending. So you can logically arrange these sentences in such a flow that the particular paragraph ends in a particular manner, right? Now, the last type of sentences is when you're given the opening as well as the closing sentence and you're supposed to rearrange the other sentences. So this is probably one of the easiest of the lot if you know how to make a flow and decipher the sentences accordingly, right? So what are the skills required for you to crack these type of questions? Number 1, understand the topic of the paragraph. So you should be able to discern what is being talked about. Why? See, because the subject of the individual sentences per se forms the most important clue for establishing links between these various sentences. We'll find out in the coming examples of how this makes sense. Then you need to understand the information flow and the approach of the author, right? This is a very pivotal point, because what is the exact purpose that the author intended for these particular paragraphs? If you have that in mind, you can definitely arrange them in the correct order. Is he explaining something? Is he criticizing something? Being able to identify his purpose in the paragraph will definitely help you establish the order of the sentences. Okay, so that is the first and the second topics. Now you need to have the ability to make out context. How do I put this in a more simple manner? When you come across a set of paragraphs, first you need to understand what this paragraph is talking about. That is the understanding the topic. Then you understood the flow of information in the paragraph and how the paragraph is being approached. Then number 3, you need to make the context out of the topic and the information flow. Okay, so by establishing the context, you know what would ideally come first. You know what in what style the author would begin, right? So if he is narrating a set of instances, you know that he'll probably begin from the past and move on to what the situation is today, right? Or sometimes the context might be totally different. He might be criticizing something, so his criticisms in the order of what happened to him might be the flow of the paragraphs. So you need to make out the context of the paragraph. You need to make out the context of each sentences and then figure out how the paragraph would be structured. You're not sure about, I'm not saying you'll be particularly sure about how it will be structured, but you need to have a basic skeletal idea of how it could be structured or how it would be structured. Right? Now the fourth part is you need to know how to weave out sentences to make a paragraph. So for this, if you read a lot, it would be very easy for you, because you have come across different styles of authors, different styles that the authors use to express what's in their mind, right? So you know how authors make paragraphs, how authors start a paragraph, how authors end a paragraph. So this could be very pivotal for you scoring your marks. Now, what is the MAHA strategy that you need to adopt to succeed, right? So first point is identify the ends in the set of sentences that are given. What do I mean by the ends? Definitely the beginning as well as the ending. Okay, the B and the E. You need to be very careful about this. See, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you might be thinking, "Dekho yaar, I'll get a set of sentences and I'll do it as it is. Why should I follow these rules?" It's very imperative for you to stick by these rules unless and until you have a fail-proof formula with you, right? If you have your own fail-proof formula, please, feel free to just cut this lecture here now. But I am assuming that you're watching this lecture here today because you don't have a fail-proof formula, right? And there it is imperative for you to follow this algorithm step by step, because we are establishing a sense of order. We are establishing a sense of flow. We are ensuring that you get each and every single question right. See, for the IPMAT indoor examinations, you get around, let's say you get around 3 questions from this section, right? So if you get the 3 questions correct, imagine the value addition you're doing to the score. It's not just about crossing, the cutoff. It's about the extra mile you can put in. It's about the extra score that comes in, right? That is going to help you a lot. So follow this fail-proof method. Fail-proof as in if you understand the method in essence, and you also know how to make out the context and all of what I explained before, this is fail-proof. Okay, so identify the ends of the sentences, the beginning and the ending of the sentences. Now, identify the middle pair. This is very easy, right? First, the approach is you are given 4 sentences, A, B, C, D. Suppose let us say B is the beginning, right? And let's say D is the ending. So you mark the beginning and the ending. Now you are left with 2 other sentences. So here, one of the sentences you can connect with the ending. That is, the sentence will flow into the ending, and the other sentence will obviously flow from the beginning, right? So this will be the flow. from B to A it will flow, from A to C it will flow, from A to C to D it will flow. So by fixing the ends, you are just doing 50-50 in this A and C. Okay, so if you're sure about the beginning and the end, it is going to be very easy for you to choose which one goes with the beginning, which one goes with the ends. Okay, perfect. Now, identify the middle place. Exactly, if you are given more than 4 sentences also, you have 3 options. Let's say I add another E here. So that means you have to identify A, C and E. You need to identify which one goes first, which one goes second, and which one goes third, right? Now, continuous and transition words. What are continuous? What are transition words? See, for example, how do I put it? Also, again, as well as, furthermore, etc. These words, right, when they come in a sentence, you understand that they are actually establishing a sense of flow. I'll write down these words for you to refer. Also, as well as, right, besides, furthermore, etc. देखो यार, once you start practicing na, you will obviously figure out what these continuous and transition words are. You will figure out how they are used and all of that. All you need is practice. Practice is actually the MAHA strategy. I'll write it MAHA square, because you're all indoor aspirants and you need to understand and decode math puns strategy. Okay, so practice is the only MAHA square strategy, and if you miss out on that, you're missing out on everything else, right? So once you know what the continuous and transition words are, which you will get by what? By practice. Because we all know it's not practical to by heart a set of words, right? You get this by practice. Then you essentially weave out these sentences to make a proper coherent paragraph. Okay. Pro tip, in a lot of the cases, chronological order will come into use. What is chronological order? This is not a political dude's dialogue. Okay? It is just more than that. You know what I'm referring to probably. So what chronological order is it's you should be knowing. It's an order of events arranged sequentially from the past to the present. Like, you know, first you were born, then you were 2 years old. Now you are about to get into IIM Indore. Then you will get placed. Will this happen? This will definitely happen if you do what? If you practice. Okay. Now, all of this is written in a sequential order of the events as they happen, right? This happened first, this happened second, third, fourth, etc. So that is the chronological order. So this will help you a little bit because not a lot. Now, first let's solve some questions. First, let us start with the question that we saw first, right? Dekho yaar, here we're having 4 different sentences. Let's read them all. In the past, companies with international aspirations simply familiarize themselves with any differences in the legal system or in the procedures used in the day-to-day business of import and export. B. Modern trade, however, demands more from companies. C. The use of the word however. Circle karo usko, side mein rakh lo. Okay? Today, the company seeking international success must also understand the people who live and work in countries they deal with, how they think, behave, and do business. To succeed in today's global marketplace, it is essential to learn as much as possible about the conditions in overseas markets. So, how are you going to connect? Let's decode each of these sentences one by one. See, note the sentence A. It starts with in the past, okay? In the past, I'm not saying this is not a possible beginning. This is definitely a possible beginning. But how does this begin? This sentence directly talks about companies with international aspirations. So something about companies with international aspirations is put into the air suddenly, right? Okay. But then here, when you understand this sentence, you're not getting that vibe that matches with the beginning sentence. Why? Because this sentence is not establishing any context, right? In this sentence, they are suddenly talking with companies with international aspirations. They call this word simply familiarize. See, when you're starting a paragraph, you give a slow and reverbing introduction, right? You start a sentence, you start a paragraph with a punch. But here they're introducing the concept of companies with international aspirations simply into thin air without giving any context. Now, B is very clear because a phrase like however is being used, right? As I talked about earlier. Then in C, today, it's talking about something that is happening today. And as I told you, the chronological order will help you a lot. But here again, apart from the fact that this starts with today, the company seeking international success, right? The company seeking international success. Here again, something is being introduced out of thin air without establishing context. The company seeking international success. What success are we talking about? What type of companies? What is the idea of the paragraph? We are not being given any information. Now read the fourth option. To succeed in today's global marketplace, it is essential to learn as much as possible about the conditions in overseas markets. See, what is peculiar about this sentence? First of all, it introduces the concept of global marketplace. Right? It introduces the context. It says that we are in this paragraph we are going to talk about the global marketplace and it says what is the condition for success. To succeed in today's global marketplace, it is essential to learn as much as possible about the conditions in overseas markets. So here we are being given context. We are being said that in order for you to achieve this, you must do this. Then if you read this sentence after this, you understand that this could be a continuation, because see, in the past, companies with international aspirations simply familiarize themselves. So when you read this sentence after this, you understand the context that we are talking about the global marketplace. We are talking about the conditions in overseas markets. So we can fix this as the beginning, right? Now first part is done. What is next? We need to figure out the ending, right? Ending. Definitely they are not going to end with this, okay? They're not going to end with this. And by looking at the chronological order, since he is starting with a sentence that talks about succeeding in today's global marketplace, right? It is most likely that in the next sentence he is not going to talk about what is happening today, because he is giving a general introduction, right? What is to be done to succeed in today's marketplace? So he is going to talk about what happened in the past first, and then come to talk about what is happening today. So moreover, this particular sentence, see, today the company seeking international success must also understand the people who live in work in countries they deal with, how they think, behave, and do business. This is kind of putting a close to the paragraph when you compare it with the first paragraph, because here again we are being left in thin air, because we being talked about the legal system or procedures used in the day-to-day business of import and export. So then there also we are hanging in thin air. So ideally I would choose this as the ending sentence. Okay, ending sentence. Then see, it is very easy. Here I talk about the general thing, I establish the context, then I move in to talk about what happened in the past, right? Then definitely I will talk about what is to be happening in the modern day, and then I'll conclude the paragraph. So this is how this particular Parajumble works. Now if you have any doubts, just take this question afresh and try to work it out yourself, okay? Once you work it out, once you write your answer, try to match your answer with this one, right? Then ask yourself if you followed this thought process. If you are getting your answers wrong, just ask yourself, where did I go wrong? What part of the thought process did I miss?